Hello, everyone. This video is about the position of foreign language and in particular French language in the current NCF, which is proposed by the Education Ministry. The question that have been asked about from so many teachers and heads of school is, what are we going to do with French language in classes up till 8? So in this video, I'll be explaining first of all how it used to be and what are the changes proposed by the government, by the education system, and where and how French will find its place, and how the schools can continue to teach French. So first, I would talk about the changes, and then I will talk about why French should be continued to taught and where it is going to be continued to taught and how. So it's important to understand the changes to be able to understand that, yes, we'll have to continue teaching it. So here I share my screen with you all to give you an overview of what is being proposed by NCF right now for CBSE schools, and you will be able to see the changes. So the most important thing that we are going to talk about in this video is, NCF. We already know that the education policy was introduced as NEP in 2020, where we have talked about multilingualism in section 4.11. So what was multilingualism is that we want our students to be able to converse in different languages. But what NCF is proposing right now is stressing more on Indian languages, that before learning any foreign language or English language, the Indians should be able to converse in their own mother tongue, in their own local languages. And that is why the changes. So the structure that a new education policy had proposed was divided into 4 levels, which was earlier into only 2 levels. So it is foundational, preparatory, middle, and secondary. Now we are already aware of it because it came in 2022. The purpose of NEP was also to amend the education system in the sense that we talked about how curriculum needs to be redefined entirely. So curriculum in all subjects to be reduced, first of all. We do not want to put pressure on students. Then evolving critical thinking questions and interactive classes and experiential learning, all those things made mandatory by NEP, and all the books that we were proposing had integrated all the things which NEP proposed for schools. Now, the new highlights or the highlights for NCF concern these grades which you see on the screen. First of all, grade 1, they're going to have new textbook because NCF says that the students, the junior students up till class 4, 5, they should be learning in their local languages. And that is why they're going to introduce new textbooks with changed syllabus and also the language of learning. Class 5 and 8 are going to have exams. Class 6 will also have new textbook with reduced syllabus and changed syllabus as well. Class 9 and class 10 also face changes because grade 9, they're going to have 3 language system, which was earlier 2. Grade 10 and grade 12 are going to have 2 boards, which was only 1 board earlier. And grade 11 also, which was also only having 1 language earlier, will now have 2 languages. What is this system? We start from classes 5 to 8. I've taken example of Delhi as language, so it becomes easier to understand, but you can replace Hindi with any other language or Sanskrit with any other language which is being taught. So first I'm talking about here, if you see, language teaching in classes 5 to 8. So earlier, we had 2 mandatory languages. Hindi was compulsory and English was compulsory. And there were options. So the school was deciding what options they want to give. They were giving Sanskrit and French. They were giving German and Spanish. So out of all the options they were giving, the students had to choose one option. Many of the students chose Sanskrit or French. So these were the 2 very popular languages. Those who wanted to have an exposure to an international language chose French. Those who thought that it will be easy to teach the kids in Sanskrit because we have studied Sanskrit before in school, they opted for Sanskrit. This was the system earlier. Now, as per the new system, Hindi and Sanskrit are going to be mandatory. It's not English, which is mandatory, but Hindi and Sanskrit are going to be mandatory. But there will be a third language, which is English, because we believe English is also a language that is spoken all over the world, and the students should learn this language. And French language takes the role of skill development course, that is the fourth language. Now, here you will see by the end of my presentation is that we are saying that we have reduced the importance of foreign languages. On the contrary, there are two major things which have happened. Number one, we have increased the importance of Indian languages, but what has reduced is the importance of English language. You will see it in the further things, and then you will understand why I'm saying that. Because if we say that French is now an option because it's a skill development course, French was always an optional language. It was never a compulsory language. So it hasn't impacted French as such. If we talk about classes 9th and 10th, what was mandatory was English. So, we were giving so much importance to English that Hindi was not important, but for English was important. And then you had a choice of second language. The second language could be Hindi, it could be Sanskrit, it could be French, it could be German, it could be Spanish, whatever languages you were learning in your school up till class 8th. So if you see here, suppose I want to propose options to my students in class 9th between French, Sanskrit, or Hindi, or German and Spanish. It's important that they have studied any of these languages up till class 8th. If they haven't studied, they will not be able to opt for it in class 9. The same thing applies now. Now the thing is, we have mandatory thing is you have two Indian languages mandatory. You can consider it as Hindi, Sanskrit, Bengali, whatever. Two Indian languages are mandatory. And you have third language, which is a foreign language, and English also comes under foreign language. Now suppose a school decides that, okay, we are not going to teach French now because already Sanskrit is introduced, or two Indian languages introduced. How are the students are going to learn four languages? The fact is that when they reach class 9th, how are we going to give them options when we haven't taught them these foreign languages before? That means we are imposing English language on the students in class 9th and 10th, and even 11th and 12th. So NCF is all about giving options to the students, opening wide arena for them to choose from multiple domains, from multiple languages. But if we do not teach them French up till class 8th, how are we going to offer them French in class 9th and 10th? It means that the student will be bound to take English as the third language. However, in various schools, and teachers would also agree, I have seen in past that there are so many students who do beyond imagination in French and English. They don't find it very scoring language. Sometimes they stuck to 97, 98%, but 100% score in French. Though it is changing, even in English, we have seen in past that it is 100% result, but not for everyone. So some people believe that English is not a very scoring language, and they prefer taking French for one reason. The second reason is that they know English already by class 8. They're already speaking. They're always conversing in their society. Why not go for a foreign language for another 4 years? Because this will give them another professional asset. So this is going to add to their CV. This is going to add to their knowledge. They'll have another foreign language option to explore in future after 12th. If they want to do something in foreign language, or they want to do any kind of further studies, it can be beneficial for them. However, English, they would have already learned. Literature, it may interest them. Class 9, 10th, 11th, 12th, it may not interest them. So that's one thing which is clearly visible here, that something which has lost importance is not French, because French was already an optional language. It's English which has lost importance. And the languages which have gained importance is obviously the Indian languages. Now, in grade 9, here, if you will see, one language that a child can take is any foreign language, So it can be English, French, German, Spanish. We did not consider English as a foreign language up till now, but now English will also be considered as a foreign language. So the students can take any language out of them. In language 2, or the second language, I'm not saying the second language, but language number 2, it can be two Indian languages. It can be Hindi, Sanskrit, Bengali, Punjabi, Marathi, any two languages from India they can study. The core subjects still remain same: math, science, social studies, and skill subjects are computer, physical, art, environment, etc. So the child is going to study all together 10 subjects, and each language, I'm focusing here on language, each language is going to be equivalent to 120 hours of studies and 4 credits each. So this is how you see the system is changing now. In class 11th also, the change is proposed as adding another language. So you see, so far we only had English as the mandatory language, but now English is not a mandatory language. What is mandatory is one Indian language and another language which can be of your choice. It can be English, it can be French, it can be Spanish, it can be German, any one of them. But one Indian language is mandatory and the rest 4 subjects remain same. So that means class 11 students are going to study 6 subjects and not 5 subjects. So believing that, if you think that CBSE doesn't want to encourage learning foreign language, why would you think that in language 1 here, it would be foreign language 8, and why not simply English? The reason is that, as I said, NCF wants to give options to the students. You are not bound to study English as it used to be the case in class 9, 10th, 11th, 12th, that English was a mandatory subject. You have the choice of doing another language. If you don't want to study English further, you can pick up another language. And I'm sure with this, globalization, many of the parents also prefer that their kids learn foreign language. So class 11th, as I mentioned before, earlier it was one mandatory language, that was English. And some schools offered French also, but that used to be an optional language. But only one language they were studying in class 11th and 12th, and that was English. Now they are going to study 2 languages. They are going to study one Indian language and one foreign language. And as I said, foreign language doesn't have to be English. It can be French, it can be German. And students will have to pass all 6 subjects. That means it is not just a skill development language, it's going to be the main subject. So instead of 5, they will have 6 subjects. Each language is going to be equivalent to 210 hours and giving them 7 credits. So 210 hours, it's a serious kind of study. So we are not saying that, the foreign language is offered for the sake of offering, but it's going to be seriously taught. For class 10th, I think you all are hearing the news also, and you saw it in the newspaper as well, about the 2 board system. Now the students are going to have class 10th and 12th, they are going to have exams twice, once in November or December, and next is Feb and March. And then the practicals are going to be in January. And the best of 2 will be, in theory, will be counted as their score. But, it's not mandatory to appear for board exam. The students can take 3 exams in board 1 and then the rest 3 in board 2. They can also do that. Maybe they can appear for both the exams, all the exams in both the boards, and then see what is their performance. So actually, it is kind of a good initiative. You may consider, like school used to do their pre-board in December. So the schools do not have to conduct it. It is being conducted by the CBSE itself. So this is the change they are going to have for boards. Again, 10th and 12th are going to study 2 languages, as we mentioned, for class 11th and 9th. Now, how about French for students till class 8th? French, as I said, was always an optional language. What is now changing position is English. It's going to be a skill development subject which will be scored, and the students can opt it. The school should offer it, because if they do not do it, what's in question is that suppose a student hasn't studied French at all and he enters class 9. He has taken Hindi as one Indian language. He has taken Sanskrit as another Indian language. When it comes to the third language, which is the foreign language, he doesn't have any other option than English. Because if he hasn't studied or hasn't explored the language before, how the child is going to opt for it in class 9, 10th, and 11th, 12th? So indirectly, by not offering French language till class 8th, we will be shutting all doors to our students. It's a simple one-way route. You have to take English as the third language because you haven't studied French before, and that you don't really have a choice. But NCF insist on giving choices to your students, and that's why in the list of foreign languages you see English, you see French, you see German, and you see Spanish. And with all the bilateral relations that we have with France, and that growing relationship and friendship with France, we cannot imagine French being scrapped completely from the school. So it is not being scrapped, it is offered as a main subject in class 9th and 10th. And now in 11th and 12th also. Earlier it was not the case, it was only few schools offering this language as optional. But now it's a main subject for class 9, 10th, 11th, 12th. So of course, to be able to take it as a main subject, it'll be in a thought process to think of offering it as a skill development subject in class 8. And Biswajit Saha is the director of CBSE. He himself, I'm quoting it from this article where he had a meeting with the um, principals, and he was saying that we are aware of the facet of foreign language which various schools are offering. So we may consider foreign language as a skill subject so that the schools can continue teaching the subject. That means CBSE is not advising the schools to discontinue teaching the foreign languages. It's a misconception. Now the question might arise that, oh my god, so that means the class 5 students, 6 students are going to study 8 subjects, 9 subjects. Yes, but it is not going to be as intense as all the subjects. So that means we are already preparing our students of class 5, 6, 7, 8, that by the time they come in class 9, they have 10 subjects. So we are already slowly and gradually preparing them, but that's the way it should be. We cannot expect our students to be studying only 5 or 6 subjects in class 8 and all of a sudden doubling to subjects 10 in class 9. So the process has to be slowly integrated in the education system. So from class 5 onwards, we can start offering them. We continue to offer them. I shouldn't say start offering them. We continue to offer them a foreign language so that, having learned the basic of the language in 4 years, they will have the choice to make in class 9th and 10th and 11th and 12th, that they will be able to take French as the option. So this is all about it. I have tried my level best to explain how the language is going to be continued taught in the schools and why it should be continued to taught. Because looking at the framework, looking at the credit system, we understand that CBSE does not want schools to discontinue with learning foreign language, teaching foreign languages. In fact, they've been given a place alongside English in class 9, 10th, 11th, and 12th. If they have been given a place alongside English, they should find a place alongside English in the other grades as well, so that the students can make a wise decision when they come to class 9. Okay, I have studied these many languages. I've studied French and I've studied English. I find French easier and scoring or interesting and useful. I will opt for French. Or I do not find it interesting and useful, I may opt for English. So the whole idea is to provide options to the students. So my advice to the schools and to the teachers and to the heads of the school is that we should continue teaching French for class 5 to 8. If we do not do that, we are kind of, disrespecting the idea of providing options to our students in class 9th and 10th and 11th and 12th. So if we offer them French now, they will be able to make a wiser decision in class 9th and 10th. So thank you so much for being with me. I hope this has helped. We'll connect again soon. Thank you.